Oh, look at this gold around my neck. Look at the gold that we have around our necks after this weekend. It was fantastic being a part of Team USA, even though I had nothing to do with it. Neither did Derek, neither did Kyle. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers podcast on a Monday.
Part of this country, though, David.
Yes, we are. After capturing gold, Team USA officially wraps up their basketball portion of the Olympics. The Olympics wraps up as the final day was on Sunday, but the weekend was just spectacular from the women's capturing gold in a comeback fashion on Sunday. And that was following the theater that it was on Saturday as Team USA took down France in a close to double-digit win. I think it was either 9 or 11, whatever it was. There's a lot to talk about of how they got there, and we'll get to Steph Curry, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, everybody that had played a big part in them capturing gold as we start things off on this Monday. Bree is back with us, all of you in the chat. And we can't wait to get into it all.
Hassan Reddick is not back with us. He's also not back with the New York Jets.
But he might be requesting to come back to Philadelphia knowing that he's not getting a contract. He might as well come back home and see how that one works out. With that being said, Joel Embiid is going to be coming back home soon, Kyle, and he's going to come back with something that he has never done before. He has won. He has finally won the biggest level.
I thought you were setting me up to say he's bringing home a piece of the Eiffel Tower, which is quite literally true.
That you mentioned on Friday's show. But he's coming back with something that he has never done before, which is capturing the championship in whatever level of play that he was playing in. And that was for Team USA against France. He did not play a big part of it in terms of his numbers like he did in the game before, in the semifinal game against Serbia. But he did do enough. Of course, they wouldn't be there without his play against Serbia and Nikola Jokic in the game before. Steve Kerr decided to go in a different direction. Nobody cared, at least here, because we were just all about, hey, Team USA getting the win, and they got the win. The theater
country over person.
Exactly, and he seemed to be fine with it as things played out and capturing that gold medal. But we talk about this, and we spoke about it at the start of the experience for Joel Embiid when we were there in Las Vegas for a training camp. The showcase where he did not look all that well, how things started to play out and continue to improve for him. And we spoke about also how it's going to be important for him, this experience, winning the gold medal if they got to that point, and what that might do in carrying over to the Philadelphia 76ers season. Now, the season doesn't start until October training camp at the end of September, beginning of October, but there's still time right now with him being in game shape. He's going to probably take a few weeks off because he's been going through a training camp and some meaningful games for the last month. But this is a spot where he has never been before, both in the workout part of it, where his body is right and in game shape. Could still probably improve his body a little bit by the time we get to training camp, but also coming back and winning something meaningful in his basketball career.
Yeah, look, I talked so much throughout the tournament, before the tournament, while we were in Vegas, and so on, about all the different components of this journey that I thought were important to Joel. So he only ends up playing in that final gold medal game, like 11 plus minutes, under 12. I know it was somewhere between 11 and 12. And after the first half, I was like, I don't even know if he's going to start. He started poorly. Wemby was on fire. That obviously put him on his heels a little bit to open the game. I thought that one of the most inspiring things of that whole tournament was that he came back second half and just came out and absolutely did his job. And I wrote about this today at allphly.com for our diehards. But that sequence to open the second half was, to me, a perfect encapsulation of what Joel gained from playing in this tournament, right? Him and LeBron hook up on a couple. One was a duck in. The other one was a design like, hey, Joel, come up, set a ball screen. We're going to force a switch, because France had abandoned the too big look late in this tournament, right? They wanted to play Wembanyama by himself. Yabusele was playing very well, so they were using him as their other front court guy. And they forced multiple switches on him with Joel, draw back-to-back fouls. 2.5 minutes into the second half, France has to blow up their plans for their lineup and go to that double big lineup, specifically because of what Joel Embiid is doing and because they felt the pressure that he was putting on them. Now, in an NBA game, if this is the Philadelphia 76ers, they just keep going back to the well. They give Joel the ball. They say, well, he can score on Rudy Gobert. He's our best player. We can do whatever. Instead, the next time they come down, Joel Embiid sees Devin Booker in the strong side corner, and he starts waving him over. Joel sets up down there so that LeBron and Steph Curry can run their own ball screen action. Steph Curry on the left wing gets about as wide open of a three as you can get because they tried to trap LeBron. And Rudy Gobert down in that corner is like, well, I can't leave Joel Embiid wide open because if I do, that's either a wide open three for him or he's cutting behind me to the basket and that's an open dunk. And so Joel went from, hey, I'm the focal point of the offense for, a couple minutes here to I'm just spacing the floor. I'm just here to help facilitate things for my teammates. And I think he really figured out over the last couple of weeks, I'm not just here to score. And my value is not just like go to my spots and operate. Some of the time it's just identifying, hey, Steph is freelancing a little bit off the ball. He's trying to navigate the baseline and create separation. I need to hit his guy with a hard screen, or I need to come up and meet LeBron's guy with a screen, or I need to get inside position to potentially get an offensive rebound. And seeing him do those little things, hit some outlet passes, had one for an assist to LeBron in that second half. Just seeing him do all these little things that add up to winning without having to score a million points. That's what I wanted him there to experience, is to see these guys like LeBron, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, who have won at the highest levels, who understand what it takes to be great, what it takes to win in those, gut check moments, and just apply all that, like be a sponge. And I think you could see a clear change from when he came in, that first scrimmage that we were at out in Las Vegas. There was a lot of the slower, more deliberate Joel. He moved the pace of play. He fit into the offense. He gave himself up for the team. And when Anthony Davis, who frankly played better than he did in that game, played down the stretch and played more minutes in the second half, he was not on that bench pouting. He was not looking at Steve Kerr like, why am I not in the game? He's there celebrating his team and his teammates. And so I think he handled this whole experience the right way. I think he said, or I don't think he said, I know he said after the game that I can take what I've learned in terms of, just helping other guys out, facilitating things for them, letting them shine and star, and bring that back to the Sixers. That's the most important lesson you could possibly learn. Is it's not just like, okay, if I score 30 in a playoff game, but we lose, I did my job. It's thinking more about basketball as, what do I need to do in order to best help this team at this moment in this game on this stage? And I think he showed that between the Serbia game, where they needed him to go out there and do what he did, and the game against France, where he was in more of a secondary passive role, that shows you the versatility he can have on a very good team.
Yeah, I think if there's a couple things I want him to take away from this experience. First, in terms of on-court stuff, the screen setting. You're 7 foot, 280 plus pounds, level people. And that's just not on ball at the top of the key in DHOs. Set a pin down. Like, set something to just free Maxey up off ball. Set something that's free Paul George up off ball.
We saw some great ones for Steph.
Incredible ones. You are going to be spending, and again, I don't want to overstate this. He's still probably going to have a 30% usage rate. You're not going to be completely off ball, but you will be off ball at times. Level people with that screen setting. It really does make a massive difference, and it's something I think he's mostly overlooked for the majority of his career because he's so focused on what he's going to do when he eventually does get that ball. So that mindset shift, I think, will become valuable. The other thing that I guess my second thing that I really want to take away is the fact that he can spend some of this time off ball and find ways to contribute. I think at some point, if he does it successfully, we will look back a little bit towards the Olympics as the turning point. And certainly, I think that's a big one. I think it honestly started in part in the series against the Knicks when Tyrese Maxey was cooking, and I don't want to say let him, but he was happy to encourage that and take a step back and let Maxey run the show. I think here in the Olympics, he continued that and crucially maybe learned how to impact the game off ball more than he knew how to do in that series against the Knicks, and will continue to learn how to do over the course of the season. So that was my second takeaway. And also just in terms of like learning how to win, I think sometimes we can overstate this. And I think it can be overstated with the Olympics too. Like what they did here won't necessarily matter when they play the Boston Celtics in the conference finals. Like tactically, it'll be completely different. But just to come back with the confidence that he can succeed in this environment that he can win the final game. The experience of leaving elated in a season, not just, I always go back to what JJ Redick said, not every season ends in tears, but most of the good ones do. Well, just having this experience where you're walking away on cloud nine, feeling accomplished, just having that morale boost when you're in the next defining moment of your career can become beneficial. So I think all of that is really good for him. And it was at times an up and down, Olympic run, more up towards the end than down, and certainly more up towards the end than it was at the beginning when he was really struggling. But just having that confidence that I have succeeded in these big spots, my team has won, I think it can't help but it can't not help.
I agree with both of you on everything you laid out there. For me, I'll start with the unselfishness that we eventually saw that was more crisp as the passing and all. They go hand in hand with the unselfishness. He was making skip passes that we've seen with the Sixers before that have worked, but sometimes he took a little bit too long to make those passes. Seeing people cut, seeing somebody wide open. Even when we discuss having a decently good enough hot hand in that Serbia game where he decided, yes, I do have a pretty good shot here, but you know what? I'm going to set this dribble handoff for Devin Booker to come off the screen real quick. And he didn't even think about it more than a millisecond to know that that's exactly what he was going to do. He knew that. Kyle mentioned the part where he had an opportunity to do something, but he waved Devin Booker out to make it a better play overall from dissecting and IQing the game there of what was best for them in that moment for what was already working for Team USA. So for me, it's the quick decisions that I thought he made. Going back to the Serbia game, when we talked about taking Jokic off the dribble from the top of the key, where he caught that ball and he was on the move, downhill immediately for that two-handed dunk, that it was so fast that the Serbia coach thought he traveled, and he did not. It was just the fact that, as Kyle called him, he was a traffic cone, and he was a moving traffic cone because Embiid made a quick decision on that one. So if those things work, it doesn't allow the double team to come quickly. And look, I understand that he's got 4 Hall of Famers around him on the floor. That may not be the case with the 76ers. However, if he's catching it up top that way, he does have 2 other All-Stars that are going to be there on the floor with him. 2 capable shooters, at least for their positions as options in 4 and 5, and Oubre and Martin and whomever else, Gordon may be on the floor at the same time. But that quick decision is going to be helpful from the top. Number 2, while he has the best deep post position in the NBA, it doesn't hurt to do that again, especially again when you have 2 other All-Stars on the floor. Because as Kyle pointed out, he busted up their strategy immediately in the first few minutes of that second half simply because he got them in foul trouble. We know he can get Rudy Gobert in foul trouble. That's not new. Same for Victor Wembanyama. That's not new either because he is so frail. As good as he is as a defensive player, Joel Embiid is even better as an offensive player where he can exploit that to his advantage and make sure that he gets those guys in foul trouble. That will be the case for every team that they play the other 29 in the NBA. So the deep post position does, in fact, help overall. And then finally, just the way that we saw him out there playing and just the understanding of the game where he trusted people. He always trusts Tyrese Maxey. The question was he going to trust other people around Maxey that wasn't Maxey, that wasn't Harden? And it's different when you have, again, 4 Hall of Famers around him on the floor at the same time. But if he trusts his teammates, and they don't get lost in the shuffle, the 30% usage rate that Derek talks about, but they don't get lost in the shuffle of the offense, and they feel like they're involved when they do make a hard cut and they find themselves open on the baseline, and they receive that basketball knowing the big fella rewarded them for finding that way to get open. That's going to go a long way for what they're going to do for the rest of the regular season and most importantly into the playoffs because they know that he doesn't, number one, he knows that he doesn't have to be on an island all by himself. We've seen Maxey do it. He trusts him. If he gains that trust from Paul George out there on the floor at the same time, that's going to work out. And then the others as well as they continue throughout however deep they go into the season all the way into the playoffs. That's what's going to be important for me that I took away from the things that he saw. Just quick decisions, deep post position, making those quick decisions on the jab steps. We know it works in the NBA. Guess what, man? You can do that stuff in the NBA too, where you don't have to overexert yourself. And then when you do pass the basketball, I go back to Paul George's introductory press conference of looking at Nick Nurse and simply saying, we don't want to have Joel up at the top isolating for 10 seconds of the offense. Quick decisions, make it work. Brett Brown used to talk about it all the time, but when you see it differently with other players out there on the floor, you now start to look at things and say, well, we'll go back when the season is underway And as both of the guys here laid out, we're going to look at things that happened and just kind of recalibrate what took place in the Team USA uniform. And we're going to go back and point at the screen while we're all watching it here together, like Leonardo DiCaprio in that that one photo they always show, and where he's like, we just jump up like, oh, that was from Team USA. That's what it's going to look like for him. And hopefully it slows things down for him and makes things that much easier for him when the season gets underway, because everything that Derek pointed out, everything that Kyle played out, and everything that I just pointed out, at least from our perspectives, we of course love to hear from you in the chat of the things that you liked as well. All of that stuff is going to be beneficial. And we didn't know how it was going to play out. I always talk about how did it happen. When we got to training camp in Vegas for Team USA and we finally saw that first game against Canada, we were like, damn, okay. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt because we know how it works, what he does. But then the last 2 weeks, especially in group play, is when we really started to see him, no pun intended, process things as the game was playing out.
I was waiting for the first process at some point.
Intend your pun, coward. Come on.
Okay, well, I don't like to use the word, but so I use it in a different way. That he let that stuff process is how the game was going on, where, hey, these other dudes are going to do this. This is going to make my job easier, and let me make theirs easy out here on the floor for us to be successful. And I'm always going to look back to what he did in that game against Serbia, being down as what was it, 18 they were down in that game. And then the two things that Kyle just played out. He wasn't playing well in that first half, but Wembanyama got him good a couple of times, came off the floor. He didn't start the second half, or he didn't play well in the second half, in the first half part. He started the second half, but while he got 4 free throws and people were arguing with Kyle about 4 free throws, it's like, did you watch the game? Did you see what happened for them to bust up and change everything that France wanted to do? And then they really had no answer for it. And part of that, while he wasn't the MVP, he did not make the all Olympic team or anything like that. We all saw the importance of what he did to help factor into them capturing that gold medal, and how important that's going to be then carrying that, willingly bringing that back to Philadelphia for his NBA team.
Devon has so much Tony wrote in PTSD that he can't even say process a decade later.
Never.
I had a take, honestly, watching the last couple of games, and we'll see. It could be assigning causation when there's not actually a correlation. But I do think you could see an uptick for him just in general as they asked him to switch more. And I do wonder if maybe just to stop him from being in more of that passive mindset where when you're playing drop, the reason they play drop now and historically against pick and rolls is that Joel Embiid is very good in drop coverage, and they've had a lot of defensive success playing that way. And they have tried to play more switchy defense at times, somewhat to his chagrin, that he vocalized like, maybe we shouldn't do this as much. I think they need to challenge him to play more drop on a regular per game basis, because it keeps him out of that passive mentality. And I thought that he embraced it as it went on. And frankly, they just have better personnel to run it than they have in the past between Caleb and Kelly and Paul George. I know we're skeptical of Maxey, but at least he's in the weight room trying to do his best to get there. But I think maybe it's just that his legs were under him more. Maybe he was getting in better shape as the summer wore on. I just thought as soon as we started seeing him in that type of defense, that bled into everything else. Like not asking him, demanding for him to come up higher, demanding for him to switch and chase these perimeter guys. Then the legs are moving, the legs are churning, and then he's getting out in transition. He was getting some early touches, some early duck-ins, things like that. So I would look at that if I'm the Sixers and have a conversation with him about maybe we should introduce this more often, more regularly, rather than just as like we have to do this in the playoffs. Yeah. Because I thought there was a clear benefit.
And I distinctly remember Joel talking early in his career when he was maybe a little more mobile, certainly a lot fewer lower body injuries. But Brett Brown strongly preferred playing in the drop and keeping in the drop. I remember Joe talking about like, hey, when we play a little more aggressive, I get my energy level up. So I think he conceptually agrees with it. Like I said, I think maybe the calculus changes a little bit when you've had so many lower body surgeries. When you're maybe
you don't want to do 82 games of switching. Joel.
But I certainly think there's truth to that statement,
especially in the postseason situation where you guys are talking about where it's going to be meaningful at that point.
Yes, that's where you need it the most. So you don't like it's in small doses in the regular season. I'm not saying, hey, just throw out the thing that has worked for him in the regular season for so long. But I do think just if I'm Nick Nurse and I see Joel's energy kind of low, it's like, you know what? Screw you, buddy.
Yeah.
We're switching for the next 5 minutes.
You go chase Curry around those streets, buddy.
Well, chasing Curry is not an easy thing to do, but I do have a question for the guys when we come back from some things that we did see from them as far as the offense goes. We'll get to that a little bit more on the other side here on the PHLY Sixers podcast.
First up, we want to tell you about Rite Aid, specifically about allergies. We are back into allergy season. Might not be quite as devastating for some people as spring, but we want to make sure we tell you about it. Kyle,
A lot of allergies on this set.
Kyle might be the drink man, but I am the allergy man on this show. Kyle as well. Fall allergies can begin as early as August and last into November. Main culprits are ragweed and mold. Other allergens include plants such as sagebrush, tumbleweed, and pigweed, dust mites, pet dander, and fur. Allergic reactions occur when your body misidentifies a substance such as pollen as harmful to the body, and then your immune system releases histamines to fight off allergens. Interestingly enough, these same histamines are also the cause of your allergy symptoms, such as runny nose, itchy or watery eyes, or wheezing. Here's what you can do to get some relief during allergy season. Sign up for Rite Aid Rewards. Emails at riteaid.com/rewards to receive email pollen alerts for your area.
Oh, man, I need pollen alerts because then I just will not go outside on those days.
Use a dehumidifier. So we now have two things that will cause PHLY crew to not go outside. 100-degree heat in Vegas and also pollen alerts. Also use a dehumidifier. Shower frequently. If you wash the pollen and mold spores from your skin and hair, they are less likely to affect you. It's key to shower at night before you go to sleep. Check pollen counts on your weather site or app of choice and keep windows closed and use an air conditioner. Here are some over-the-counter options available to you at your local Rite Aid. A nasal rinse to help you flush out your nasal passages. And when symptoms flare up, you can try the antihistamines that we mentioned earlier. And 1 to 2 weeks before pollen allergies are expected to be high, you can try nasal corticosteroids. If that's still not enough relief, you can always ask your Rite Aid pharmacist for recommendations on ways to get relief during allergy season.
Thank you, Rite Aid. Martian Lynch in the chat said Allergy Man is the worst Avenger.
I highlighted it, but
now here's the good news. We know another Marvel character here at PHLY.
Yes.
Our friend Ryan Reynolds plays Deadpool. Came to me, I should say. Said, Kyle, I've got something for you. You're worried about your overpriced wireless provider. Come on over to Mint Mobile and join Death Row. I can get you 3 months, $15 a month. It's a steal. Nation's largest 5G network. And I said, Brian, what the heck is the catch with Mint Mobile? Well, there isn't one. They sell wireless service online. No retail stores, no salespeople. So they can pass on all the savings from that into the premium phone plans that go directly to you, the customer. So Mint Mobile is here to rescue you. Maybe Deadpool will come and rescue you, although might be a little divided on whether you want to be rescued by Deadpool specifically. All plans at Mint Mobile come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Best thing, you can use your own phone, bring your phone number, all your existing contacts. If you want to have a business phone, a separate phone, something for your side piece, a burner, whatever it might be. I'm not condoning necessarily any of those reasons, but Mint Mobile doesn't judge. It's an easy setup process. Took me about 15 minutes, painless, and you're done. So ditch overpriced wireless. For whatever reason that you want to join Mint Mobile, get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/Sixers. That's mintmobile.com/Sixers. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Sixers. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
Ryan, my question to you about Mint Mobile is, in your movies, when you're on the cell phone, is it Mint Mobile
of course
service?
Of course.
Yes.
Ryan Reynolds accepts no substitutes.
Right. Yes. So on Deadpool,
that's why he's been such an effective spokesperson for like 800 different companies, right? Is that like he uses the things that he's talking about. I think.
I need to see the ad up on, you know how they have it on, if they're in New York and they have it in Times Square up on the big screen, you need to have the Mint drop in there up on the screen. You got it. I believe you though.
Thank you, Ryan Reynolds, and thank you to Mint Mobile.
I know. I believe you. I trust you.
I'm just still sitting here wondering if Kyle's wife watches this show and if he's going to have an awkward conversation when he gets home.
Well, he said I don't condone it.
I know the disclaimer. I'm just saying.
I don't condone
it's just
it.
the burner phone. It's the bat phone over here.
And yes, Boots, people do have Mint Mobile. It's a very successful wireless plan. Question, Derek. Seeing what we saw from the quick decision making without the ball in his hands, or with the ball in his hands and setting the screen, dribble handoff. We've seen plenty of that in the Sixers uniform. The waving Devin Booker to the other side of the floor. He knows what plays are being ran. But with Paul George in the LeBron James role, hypothetically, Tyrese Maxey in the Steph Curry role, maybe he can shoot just as good in those 2 minutes and 30 seconds and win the game like that. We have seen the semblance of it, but in that type of role where you have those two substituting LeBron James and Steph Curry, is that something that you could also see translating to the NBA season where Nick Nurse may implement some stuff because Embiid trusted even more, knowing that, wow, it is LeBron James and it is Steph Curry. We're talking about two arguably top 10 players of all time. We do have a Hall of Famer in Paul George. You can argue if you want, argue with somebody else. I'm not arguing that. Paul George is a Hall of Famer just because. That's the Basketball Hall of Fame, not the NBA Hall of Fame. That type of stuff works in the U.S. in the Olympic play. Can that stuff now translate to the Sixers?
Can we get someone in the Devin Booker role? That would be great.
That would be great too.
And watching him scale back and really commit defensively.
I give him a lot of credit he was one of the guys I think changed the most in terms of what he does play to play and was very good.
No,
and defensively,
you
talk about that.
About back at Kentucky.
Saw it in 21 too. Saw it at 21 when they were doing all of that run.
But to your point, I think there's look, Paul George isn't that much of a facsimile of LeBron at this stage of his career. He's not going to do nearly as much, I don't think, on ball, and he's not as creative a passer as LeBron is.
It's an understatement.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But I do certainly think the Maxey-Steph parallel is something that he can learn from and work from. And like I said, that's why one of my main takeaways is I want to see him leveling dudes with those, including off-ball screens when we come back here. So, yeah, I certainly think there's some stuff he can take from this experience that directly correlates with how he plays with Maxey.
Yeah, and look, I would say we're focused a lot on Joel and his role in all this. I would guarantee you Nick Nurse is watching very closely the last month and a half or so. Number one, he's said it and was an international coach at one point. He's a big believer in the value of international basketball and like how that translates into whether it's an individual's play or how that comes over to the team. So I bet you Nick Nurse has been looking at some of the stuff they've been running, how Joel has been used when he's not, at his base of operations, we'll call it, around the nail or occasionally posting up near the basket. I think one thing that maybe Nick and other people could stress to Joel, I go over some tape with him. I really liked his off-ball movement when he wasn't getting the ball late in the Olympics. I thought he did a good job of okay, I need to come up for a ball screen. And then LeBron's like, no, I don't need that. Or somebody else has to come over. Joel then did a good job of doing the early work to get in position for rebounds. And maybe Joel didn't get the rebound himself, but he's drawing, whether it's Wemby, Rudy Gobert, Jokic, whoever it is, and that's opening up opportunities for LeBron to get an offensive rebound, Kevin Durant to get an offensive rebound, whoever to come in and crash. Or occasionally Joel's tipping out shots to some of his teammates, and he's doing more of the true quote-unquote big man things that I think a lot of people around Philadelphia want him to do. And so you can see in this environment the full package, right? Like he has the number one option scorer package, right? He can go on a run where he scores 7 straight points in 2 minutes, changes the game, can space out to 3 against Brazil, hits a bunch of jumpers and gets going to open up the elimination games that they had. And you see all of that, but then you also see, as Derek is alluding to, the off-ball screens and, crushing a guy, not just up top on pick and rolls, but somebody cutting along the baseline, just leveling a dude so that Tyrese Maxey can come around, curl for a wing 3, a corner 3, or even attack a closeout then. And then Joel, because of that initial screen, maybe he gets an easy look at the rim. And I think when you play with guys at the level he just did, you see the logical end of, maybe what coaches have tried to stress to you and tell you, but these guys can actually do it on a regular basis. Like, hey, give the ball up and it will come back to you, or the team will score. It will be tougher to convince him to do that when it's like 39-year-old Kyle Lowry that's coming off of a screen, or rookie Jared McCain, whoever it might be. But you just have building these positive habits and just seeing that lead to success. It directly translates into, I won an important game. I won a gold medal with the rest of these guys for my country. I think that will go a long way for this guy.
Seeing him do that before, I mean, it was great to see it when he was setting those screens in the moment, and you're just like, damn, look how open Steph Curry is for that three-pointer, where he's lining it up. He's finding the seams on the basketball just simply because he's that open. And when he's doing that, it made me think back to, as you guys are talking about Tyrese Maxey, the J.J. Redick action along the baseline where he would set those screens there for him on the dribble handoff, or just simply on that pin down, coming off of the baseline, the way that he runs, the way that he did. And even someone like Seth Curry, who's a little bit slower in that way, but it was effective because of how good of the shooters that they were. And now that Maxey has turned into the type of shooter, and jokingly talking about, and we'll talk about Curry and that shooting display and how things ended up in the next segment, but we've seen Maxey do that. We've seen him effectively shoot that way in games. Go back to the Knicks game, of course, in that game 5 at the Garden. We've seen it plenty of times in other parts of the season where Maxey will go off and do those types of things, and we'll go back in the postgame and talk about the stretch that he had to help win that game. But to do this with Curry, knowing that Maxey is that much of an improved shooter for where he is now at this stage of his career going into year number 5, and how much trust Embiid does have in Maxey now, I cannot wait to see what that looks like when he comes back, and what type of stuff that Nick Nurse takes away from this Olympic experience and brings back to Philadelphia for those very reasons. And someone said, I think it was AC Phillips saying, well, maybe Paul George can play in the KD role a little bit. He's not LeBron James in that way, but the scoring a little bit off of Embiid with those two guys out there on the floor. We have been focused so much on Curry and with Embiid, and Curry with, LeBron with Embiid, and then mixing in a little Devin Booker. And Paul George may be a little bit different in the scoring way. He's not Kevin Durant, so nobody's saying that. But in that way, where Embiid was screening for so many different types of players out there on the floor, and the different types of things that he was doing out there on the floor, all of that is just simply going to be beneficial for this guy when he does come back for the NBA season. So much that they can take away from, so many things that we're probably not even touching on because of how those guys look at basketball and what they may take away from this whole experience and being out there and seeing what Embiid does, and then just himself with the IQ that he has and how that stuff might be implemented into the start of the Sixers season overall. It was a fun experience. It was great to see. It was great to be a part of it early on, and then see how he just got better and better and better, hit a little tough spot there in the middle, get back to the group play, plays that way, and kind of validated too, Kyle, what Steve Kerr said about, no, it's Curry, it's LeBron, and it's Embiid. And the importance of Grant Hill going out there and getting this player, because as good as the style of play with Davis and Bam Adebayo, you saw the importance of Joel Embiid against Nikola Jokic, and then even
it's the game they recruited him for, essentially.
And then even for when they tried to switch it up and bring Rudy Gobert back in that France game, he was still not as important against Joel Embiid out there on the floor, because of who he is as a player, how important he is as a player, and the significance of him and the style of play that he also has. To have those two different styles validated, winning the gold medal. You had to close it out with Anthony Davis, but Joel Embiid, again, certainly had his fingerprints all over it and how they got it done. Speaking of how they got it done, we need to talk about how they got it done, because there was some theater there in those final few minutes of that fourth quarter against France. And man, was it something that we're going to be talking about for a long time. Shots for the ages as it came down to it for Team USA and for Steph Curry. We'll talk about it when we get back right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. One of the things I wish I could do at that level, of course, is shooting. Would you rather throw a touchdown, hit a home run, or shoot a three-pointer? Well, damn it, if I could shoot like Steph Curry, I would love to shoot like Steph Curry in that way. And you know what? I would have made myself a lot of money if I could do that, whether it be here or overseas, wherever it may have been. I would have made a lot of money. You know, I would have gone to put my money into the bank if I made that kind of cash. Well, that kind of scratch needs to go to TrueMark. TrueMark Financial rewards Visa credit card as well, where I would feel comfortable using my card, especially with the type of money that I did have. Earn rewards for each purchase using TrueMark Financial's rewards Visa credit card and redeem them for travel and retail gift cards. If you're still traveling for the rest of the summer, you still have a few weeks left of summer and you need to have that security, TrueMark is the place to go. You can build your credit through timely payments and low credit utilization. Enjoy fraud protection while you're traveling with features like zero liability as well. The traditional savings account is we talk about beneficial for the big fella on that stage and bring it back to Philadelphia. The savings are beneficial for you as well. Basic savings account offering a place to deposit funds, earn interest, and withdraw money as needed. You have certificates where fixed term deposit account with a predetermined interest rate and maturity date as well, offering higher interest rates for locking in funds for a specific period. So even if you're looking to start your child out, you make sure that the money is right there to teach them how to use certain things heading off to college. TrueMark Financial's Reward Visa Credit is the place for you. TrueMark Financial is federally insured by the NCUA and is an equal opportunity lender. For more information, visit TrueMark.com/PHLY.
And guys, you know we love to plug all our great things that we're working on here internally at PHLY. We do have an upcoming event for our PHLY Phillies crew at Top Tomato. Phillies against the
stinking
Atlanta Braves on August 29th. Dollar beers, dollar hot dogs. There will be a Phillies ticket giveaway, giving away merch, giving away memorabilia. You can RSVP for free, but you must RSVP to be eligible for giveaways. So I want you to go to allphly.com/events. That's August 29th in Top Tomato. And by the way, while we're here, we might as well talk about our Die Hard program. I've been plugging it lately for all the Eagles content. I just wrote some Die Hard content today about Joel Embiid's Olympic journey, going a little more in depth on what we've been discussing on this show. But we have all kinds of content coming from Phillies, Flyers, Sixers, Eagles. Occasionally, we even get the Union, some other stuff sprinkled in there a little bit. On top of the exclusive content that you get, it's 20% off of events when we have the paid events. We have merch for all the teams. Free shirt when you become a member.
Look at the shirt, Brig. Show the shirt.
Look at that.
Look at that. Look at that shirt.
And there's the members-only Discord, which some of you have been in for quite a long time. Some of you have just joined, like our friend Val, who's always in the chat on the show, as always. So, guys, go to allphly.com. Check out the Die Hard program. Check out the events tab so you can get even closer to us. It feels like that's not possible, but I promise you, it is.
Gotta get closer, folks. Make sure you go read Kyle's piece on Joel Embiid, allphly.com. Great piece. And of course, go check it out. Support the writing here at PHLY from these two guys. Eagles training camp and preseason. Got preseason game in the book now. They have the joint practices with the Patriots. So, you know, the guys will be all over that with New England. And baseball. They need to return
of a new day
home.
In New England, man.
Yeah,
what a weird time,
that, isn't it? Yeah. So baseball guys coming home for some home games after a long, tough road trip. Yeah, they need to return home. And
I say this knowing I'm wearing a Phillies shirt. I don't know why people spend their summer getting mad at baseball. It really seems like I understand when we have people who are angry in our chat or like the Flyers chat. None of us can go outside in the wintertime. It's like 30 degrees out. There are no activities you can do.
Kyle telling all of you concerned about the Phillies to touch grass.
It's like, dude, in July and August, you're angry about baseball? Go do literally anything else. Watch our show and support our Phillies content, obviously. But, like, you have so many options in the summertime. I love the passion. I love the fire. I love the passion. You just can't get that mad about baseball
And
in
these
August.
stretches happen all
Now
the
September,
time.
if they're still losing,
still 20
then I'm gonna
games
shake
over
my angry
500.
fist at the Phillies.
And that was what I was going to say is what Devon's touching on. Really, the reason not to get angry is because none of it matters. Legitimately, the only point in baseball is to get into the playoffs.
Just get in. That's all that. Now,
Once you get there,
stay in
people
top
seem
two.
convinced that they're like somehow going to blow that now.
Top two
but
seed.
they've been given some assistance from what I can tell.
Braves
The
have
teams
been pretty
underneath
bad,
them
yeah.
have not really eaten that much into the lead. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
man.
being said, I'm not going to tell you not to watch the Phillies because that seems borderline insane for a company that is monetized based
I'm
on
not
you
saying don't
watching
watch
and
and
caring
don't
about the
care.
team.
It's like you got to take a step back
but-
and just zen out.
Touch
That's all.
grass.
Choose
That's
chill,
fair.
man.
Choose
it's August.
chill.
It's
Choose
wonderful.
chill.
And also, once you get to the playoffs, there's so much randomness that a little bit of struggles here, like Devon mentioned, happens every year. And I'm not telling you it's going to be okay, but you don't have to panic. I
Come
agree
home
with
for
that. I
these
agree
6
with that.
games against Washington and Miami, and how about you take 5 of 6? Win the series. Just win the series.
I remember,
5 of 6.
and this was back when there weren't like play-ins or shortened series, but like when it was all 7 games. Once you got in, you had, no matter what your record was, no matter how good your offense was, no matter how good your pitching was, you had almost the exact same chance as every other team in the playoffs. It's so random, it's annoying, but it's also fun.
Road trip
I
for
got-
us?
Just to be clear, I'm
Road
not
trip?
saying this to like dent anyone's passion. I'm trying to keep you sane and make sure you have an enjoyable summer while we still have weather that you can actually enjoy. Because
Yeah,
those
don't speed
months
up the
where
summer, man.
I'm scraping ice off my windshield
fun.
in the morning, or
Not
I guess
fun.
not in the morning. We don't do morning shows, but when you're dealing with
I
snow,
tried that once. Kyle lost his mind.
when you walk your dog and it's just like the dog turns around and gives you the look like, what the hell am I doing outside?
Why do we live
That's
here?
when it's time for sports misery. Right now, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
Phillies are struggling. We're just going to keep watching, choose chill.
You know
I would say this. I've never had a bad time, no matter how bad the Phillies played, at a baseball game in the summer. Never walked out of there like, man, that ruined my day.
Derek and I just went to one in the same week, and I lost that day. Lost when Derek went, but I enjoyed myself. It was the
Yeah.
Phillies game.
Yeah.
And we got to take a road trip before the playoffs because you know how tough those tickets are.
Yeah.
Bree, we gotta go down to a game, take a
Hear
road
that,
trip.
Vince?
Yeah.
After I told everyone to stop being mad. Time
Jess-
for us to get mad about the
She'll be
Phillies.
there on Saturday, so Jess has an appearance at the Phillies game on Saturday, so make sure you go see Jess. Well, get some good summer basketball, man. Not the summer league. That was a fun experience, but a summer league.
Thank God. We killed like a whole month of just
It was perfect for us.
baseball
We needed
season to go back to the
We needed
Phillies
that.
with
But
actual basketball.
We got some meaningful basketball on Saturday. First with Joel Embiid, on Thursday with what he did against Serbia, and Steph Curry went for 36. He was phenomenal in that game. Had people ticked off that he wasn't the MVP at the end of it, especially the way that he ended it. And that's where we got to go next, man, because that final flurry of 3 minutes of what they did back and forth with France and how things played out. 4 threes from him, mix in some Kevin Durant free throws. By the way, we got to give a hat tip to this guy for calling the Kevin Durant starting lineup adjustment. It just made sense. Steve Kerr was watching the PHLY Sixers podcast. He said, you know what, that guy Kyle is right. And he started Kevin Durant. But damn,
I'm not
man.
going to sit here and act like I know more than Steve Kerr about basketball.
just
I'll
take
say
that.
I mean,
one
there's a
and run
lot
with
of people online acting like they know more than Steve Kerr.
Oh,
about
yeah.
basketball.
Believe me,
sure.
including a lot of
Including
Warriors
some
fans.
Boston fans, man. They're not going to be happy. And the same with Jason Tatum, but he got a gold medal. But man, can you go back to the Serbia game, including this for what he did in those final 3 minutes?
It was so like the shots themselves were wild. That shot over Wemby in the corner, just wild. Getting it over an alien like that.
And the photo was great.
Photo
by the
was
way.
great.
The photo was great.
That's the new logo.
Oh, my God.
If they ever get rid of the logo, which they shouldn't because it's a great logo.
It's a great logo.
That's the new one.
Shot over, what was it? It was Batum and Fournier?
It was Fournier. Yeah.
Over the double team. But honestly, the most wild thing to me, you had, Devin Booker driving baseline, no intention to score, only one to kick it out to Curry. And you had Kevin Durant, one of the top 5 scorers in the history of the sport, a future Hall of Famer, no doubt about it, playing hot potato with the ball on the perimeter, not because he lacks the internal confidence to shoot, but because his only goal there is to get it back to his teammate, because Steph Curry was that on fire. Like, Kevin Durant had no interest in shooting, no interest in going off the dribble, no interest trying to force a double team. His only role was to get the ball, wait for them to come towards him, and swing it right back over to Curry on the other wing. And that's how hot Curry was. Everybody in the building knew he was going to take those shots, and nobody could do anything about it, including the 7'4" alien that seems like he should be able to block every shot on the court. It was one of the most incredible shooting displays. And look, obviously Curry has had a ton of shooting displays on that stage in that moment against a team that was geared up to stop him. It was wild. And you're watching that entire run go through, and everyone's sitting there knowing, like, this might be the last championship game Steph Curry ever plays in. This might be the last one that Steph Curry, LeBron James, and Kevin Durant all play in. And for that moment to come, and this could be the passing of the torch. This could be an end of an era. For him to go out like that, it was just one of the incredible showmans the sport will ever see.
Before Kyle jumps in, I just want to point out that when Kevin Durant gave the ball back to Steph Curry, his man had not already recommitted to defending him. He gave it back, and even if he wanted to hold the ball, LeBron James was 3 feet away from him, wide open. And he could have given LeBron James the basketball for a downhill drive, still up, 3 or 6, 5 or 6, whatever it was at that point. He said, no, this guy has the ultimate hot hand right now. It was the ultimate heat check that I have ever seen for the stage and the moment. And the first 3, I was like, damn. The last one, he made me get up out of my seat. I was sitting on the couch.
Oh, that one was crazy.
And I jumped up like, come on, man. And that was amazing.
Because I will tell you, we were having a spirited discussion in one of my group chats about, up until the barrage, Steph had a pretty mixed game, right?
He had missed 2 wide open threes.
He had 5 turnovers. He had a couple bad misses.
Some of those passes were really bad.
The turnovers were real bad. The defense, as I have for all tournament, you know what my stance is on him.
Right.
And then he just goes on this absolutely electric run. And the thing that I'm always reminded of watching Steph Curry, I think the most underrated athletic trait is balance. Mm-hmm. And I think he is the perfect example of how much it matters. And, we've seen it with JJ Redick and some of the other good shooters who've come through here, but he exemplifies it where he can be coming off 3 screens. He's on he has sprinted around 3/4 of a half-court setting. But when that ball hits his hands, shoulders are square, footwork is set, arms go up in perfect form, and that shot release is the same every time, and he keeps himself completely level with the basket. And I'm almost reminded of that's the best trait a lot of the great running backs in football have, is like Barry Sanders was great, where the agility was insane, but it was the ability to go in and out of cuts, and he still has the pad level high so he can run with power. Same thing with LaShawn McCoy to a lesser extent. Steph Curry's balance is incredible because then, too, because teams know, the opponent knows, okay, we have to be ready to close on that. He's very good at that, looking like he's set and then immediately lurching forward for the dribble, and then it turns into a ball, spreads around, you get it to the big, you get it to the corner shooter, and that's what helped Klay Thompson out so much, right, is that unpredictability that Steph had, because Klay, for as good of a shooter, and he's one of the best shooters ever, probably in the top 3, right?
Yeah.
He's one of the 3 best shooters ever, but his shots were mostly of the, I'm coming off a screen or I'm a stationary spot-up guy, whereas Steph is just all over the place, all angles, still at that high clip, high volume. He is so incredible to watch when he has it going. And I said earlier in the tournament, one of the things I thought was unfortunate was that they weren't able to leverage that to use him as a passer more and to use that shooting threat to, get LeBron on a lob in the half court or get the entry to AD, Bam, or Joel on those little passes. But incredible individual display from him. And then, of course, LeBron's tournament, unbelievable. It's great for any age. To be 39 and still be this just commanding force on the most decorated team at the entire Olympics is incredible to see. Was also incredible to see Yabusele yam one on him. That's the first time I can remember a legit poster on LeBron since Tatum got him in that conference finals game. And that was the only other time I can really remember LeBron getting dunked on, unless you count there was the remember there was a rumor. I don't know if it's a rumor. It's like urban legend at this point that was it Jordan
footage,
Crawford
man.
that Nike burned the footage of him
Nike
killing
and
LeBron
Clutch,
in some
yeah.
closed doors game or whatever. So anyway, I'm not trying to degrade LeBron. He had an amazing Olympics.
That dunk was crazy.
Dunk was crazy by Yabusele, but just that's another reason to tie it back to Joel is just seeing LeBron that deep in his career. After you gave an interview where like, yeah, you know, like some of LeBron's old and
He's not 27 anymore.
meanwhile, this guy's out there kicking international ass the entire tournament. So salute to LeBron for. I still don't know. Like we don't have to get into the whole GOAT discussion today. I still don't know that you could put him in front of Jordan with like the peak of Jordan's career. But if you're talking about the longevity argument now, it's his. It used to be like Kareem had the longevity argument. LeBron owns that one. So that incredible basketball player, I've been fortunate to watch his entire and remember his entire career. This just, you know, one more cherry on top for him.
I'm still not convinced it's his last Olympics. I will believe it when I see it.
Especially because it's in LA, right? There's no
Well,
real.
he's got
He
two
could be
more.
staying at home during the Olympics.
He's got 2 more 1-and-1s assigned between then, doing it on his home turf. I will believe that man is done playing basketball when he's done because he's got gas left.
Now
in the
here's
tank.
the real question: can LeBron somehow get Bronny on the Olympic team?
Might be Bryce.
That'd be the ultimate
Might
heat
be
check.
Bryce. But let me ask you this: as we, we have a few questions here I want to throw at you. Who is the next Olympic team? Who is on there? Let's say these 3 guys. Let's leave LeBron out and say LeBron is in fact out. Who are let's say you take Tatum, Halliburton, Edwards from this team. Maybe
I think
Bam,
one or
maybe
both
Bam.
of the bigs.
Bam.
How old
I'll
is
say Bam.
how old is Anthony Davis?
31.
Yeah, so he might be pushing it, but I think.
And then you have other
if
guys.
he's like a backup or just one of the guys, then I think
Right.
that works.
So let's just say Edwards, Halliburton, Bam, and that's the 3, right? Tatum, 4. Steve Kerr's not coaching. It's probably going to be Eric Spoelstra. So who's next of the guys? I'm not asking
I think
for all
Booker
12,
will be on it again.
but Booker,
I mean, could Chet be a
yes,
big?
that's one of the bigs, probably.
I think your family member has
I would hope
a
so.
decent chance. Obviously, Jaylen Brown.
Devon didn't
We'll
want to bring
see
that
what
one up, but
happens
you knew
with
he was gonna
the
agree.
whole Nike controversy with
Of
him.
course, Grant Hill.
I think
Brunson definitely
Maxey has a
consider
good
something
chance
like
because
that.
a lot of the guards,
So Brunson,
the old vanguard of the backcourt is moving on. So I think Maxey's got a chance, but he's going to have to beat out Brunson. There's De'Aaron Fox will get consideration. I believe he's played Team USA before, at least at younger levels. If we're looking at bigs, so you brought up Chet. The other guys I keep an eye on would be Evan Mobley, depending on how he progresses.
Cooper
Jaren
Flagg.
Jackson has already played for Team USA, and he fits in that kind of versatile.
Cooper Flagg.
Cooper Flagg
because he was already in the mix.
He's in the select team
Yeah.
program already, so he's going to get in there.
How about Ja Morant as a point guard? Because we
Nope.
haven't seen it yet.
Nope.
We haven't
How's
seen
that?
it.
He's the example of he's very clearly talented enough to be on the team. Dwayne Wade hammered this throughout the Olympics, and it's a lot of what the discussion is today. There's a difference between, you have to have the talent, the ego, the personality to get there. You also have to have the talent, the ego, the personality to fade into the background or like just be one of the guys to do what it takes to win on this stage. I would guess based on, and that's not to say that Ja isn't a winner or anything like that, but based on his rocky last couple of years, I would say, unless the next 4 years are like pristine for him on I don't want to say because it's hard to say character. I don't think he's a bad kid. He's not but he has made
Certainly a bad decision maker.
bad decision maker.
These
Yeah,
last
it's probably a
this
better way
last
to
year
put
and a
it.
half has not helped for his
So
nomination.
I would say I'm skeptical that he'll be there.
Did you guys mention Paolo yet? Because SB Cole brings
I
that
think
up.
he's definitely.
Paolo, he's pretty much, if he keeps this up, he's a lock to be
Yes.
there as well for the front court. So that's a lot of names, and those are some good names. So they're still in good hands. They're still in really good hands, but as you mentioned, this is probably the last time. This is going to be the last time we see those 3 out there on the floor together. That's why they kept making such a big deal about it. Now, in terms of on the same team, it's not true. I keep seeing people say it. They're going to be on the All-Star team, Western Conference All-Star team. All three of them are going to be there. So it's not the last time. It's just the last time where it's this meaningful, this important on the Olympic stage.
Winona brought up, and I hope that he's healthy enough to go, Zion on the Olympic team would be incredible. Zion on a fast break with some ball handlers. I would love that. I just don't believe Zion's body is going to hold up enough for that to be the case. So
outside of Kale, you guys mentioned Kale. I appreciate that. But outside of Kale as the do-it-all players, the Swiss Army knife type of players, who are some others that Derek White just filled that role, Drew Holiday filled that role. We've seen Tayshaun Prince,
how old is
Andre
Derek
Iguodala
White?
in the past.
Probably.
Derek White?
I think Derek White could be there again. Whether he is
honestly, his teammate, he's not a jack of all trades kind because he's not a great creator, but Jaylen Brown.
Well, you guys mentioned him already.
We did.
Yeah.
Sorry about
Yeah.
that.
Here's another one I'll
I
throw
don't always
at
listen
you.
when Kyle talks.
What else is there? Another one I'll throw at you as the grizzled veteran who clearly loves playing for Team USA. What if Kevin Durant comes back? Like I wouldn't be shocked if
How old is he?
I think he's 35, so he'd be about 39.
Bronze age.
He would be LeBron's age now at the next Olympics. He's already the all-time leading scorer.
Yeah.
He's won multiple gold medals. I don't know that he'll be. Who knows? He could be retired at that point entirely.
Yeah.
I just think he as much as any NBA star or basketball star loves playing basketball. Like he loves basketball so much that he can't stop from posting about basketball when stupid people tweet at him too. So I think if he's still able to go and play at a high level at that point, obviously it'll be open door policy for Team USA.
Yeah.
I wouldn't count out the possibility of him playing.
AC Filler also brings up a good name for the guards defensively, Swiss Army knife type. Jalen Suggs is an interesting name because of that type of defensive prowess that he has out there.
And Derek White, I just looked up, is almost 31. He's a little older than I thought.
Okay.
So
he'll
be
probably
pushing
slow
it.
down by then. Yeah.
But
But
wild
just,
card I didn't bring up for the bigs that Ricky O'Donnell at SB Nation brought up. Derek Lively.
That's a good one.
He
That's the
fits
Tyson-
that sort of just
the
the
Tyson
Tyson
Chandler
Chandler
role.
type, or you know, obviously
JaVale
prime
McGee.
Dwight was a better player, but like that Dwight just.
But they
you're
did win the
rolling
gold.
hard to the rim and
they
you're
won the
protecting
gold with
the rim.
Tyson Chandler. That was an important team with Tyson Chandler on there. And somebody said, Devon, just say your cousin. They said it already. Prophet One. They said it already. I didn't have to say it. And I already pointed out that I thought he should have been on this team. And we were perfectly happily sitting in that Tyrese Halliburton role at the end of the bench as he had the
Waving
best,
a towel,
the best tweet, man, of all of them of saying the perfect example.
I really appreciated that from Tyrese
perfect
Halliburton.
example of a team project and sitting back and getting the A and did nothing for it. But get that goal, baby. So
That right there, though,
that's the mentality.
is why he was on the team, is because he didn't play the vast majority of the run, and he still was one of the
perfect
most
teammate.
outwardly happy, cheering, good teammates on the bench. So he'll get memed to some degree, Tyrese Halliburton, and memed himself. But salute to him for still having a great attitude and got the gold medal at the end of it. So good for him.
And he'll bring that back to the Indiana Pacers for a very good team, but another summer with great experience of playing for Team USA.
Yes.
Yabusele, people asking about him. Should the Sixers sign him for that
That might be like another day topic.
Yeah, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that another
The
day.
dancing bear, baby.
Didn't want to ignore
French Draymond.
Didn't want to ignore it, but we appreciate everybody on a Monday. This was fun. It's time for our roll call here on a Monday to start the week off. Good stuff today, people.
Shout
Good
out
stuff.
to first my girl Winona.
What up, Nona?
Shout out to Winona.
Oh,
we
I
got.
love the roll call in the corner. Thank you, Bree. Love that.
Oh, look at that. We got Aaron,
What up,
my
Aaron?
guy. You better love somebody.
Better love somebody. Love somebody.
Jay, AC Philla.
What up, Jay? Thank you, man. He said we're the best basketball team in the city. We appreciate
Shout out to
that,
Jay. I can't believe I'm going to say this. Swinging my, I'll leave that part blank, around like a helicopter propeller. We got Darkness, the hypothetical man. I lost him on for the rest of the show. Shout out to Malcolm Carrington, who said I should be the head coach of the next U.S. Olympic team. No thanks, buddy. I don't need that pressure.
He's got to go
Real time with Prince Blue snuck in a super chat, says LeBron got dunked on by the auto bio of Malcolm X.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
I'm going to have to think about that one a little more. It's a Monday. My brain's moving slow. Thank you to Eugene Ross, Igavini, Money Mar, Profit One. Val host Citizen X,
Boots.
SB Cole, Bootzilla, Martian Lynch, as always.
What up, Martian?
Got a lot of you in here today, guys. Thank you to everybody who came through. If you have not already, could you hit the subscribe button for me? Hit the bell icon so you get notifications each and every time we go live. If you hit the thumbs up button, Joel Embiid will still be a gold medal winner tomorrow. And the Denver Nuggets fans will not. Goodbye.
Thank you, Bree.
That is the book he was reading, right?
Yes.
Well, on the, yeah. All right.
We all silly like the mayor.